Beyond that, as if we have understood that the business at the present day is characterized as a VUCA business. The volatility, the uncertainties makes this process more complex. That is why, to get this success in these turbulent times, to get the success in the entire phase of its journey, organizations need to prepare the human resources to cope with all those kind of challenges. Not only that, human resources need to upgrade themselves, need to develop themselves. So the present day demands a complete revamption. So human resources need to reinvent themselves, and that is why there has to be a continuous learning process. But as we talk of these turbulent times, it is also very difficult to get that sense of fulfillment. It's very difficult for the employees as well as for the organizations to plan for the career advancement of those employees, which will ultimately lead to that sense of fulfillment. We also need to understand that this internationalization process brings one more challenge, that is the dual career pressure. We have discussed it earlier, dual career couple, and the kind of challenge or to manage the career of both in the international assignment is still a difficult task. So that is why we need to come out with a deeper understanding of the career, different phases of career, and the kind of advantages and disadvantages of managing this career in an international organization. All of those things needed to be taken into consideration in due course of time. That is what we are going to do at the present day. So let us understand, whenever we do talk of this career, we say that career has different perspectives by different employees itself. Some of the employees, they assume this career as a upward movement in a particular line of work. So whatever vertical they do work with, moving up the organizational hierarchy, moving up the organizational ladder from lower level position to the upper level position is what they do mean from this term career. Career is assumed as a process of making money by some of the people in the organization itself. Career sometimes is assumed to have more responsible positions or to acquire more responsible positions in the organization. Okay. Sometimes career means more status, more prestige, power in the organizational hierarchy. So different people do have different sort of assumptions related to this career. But however, if we'll have this comprehensive view of the career management itself, we are talking of this career as certain occupational positions occupied by a particular person over a period of time, over years in the organization itself. And that has got two different perspectives. We do talk of this objective view and a subjective view. Objective view says a career is understood as a sequence of such positions occupied by a person. Any such particular, as if we have understood, in a particular vertical of the organizational hierarchy, what are the key positions occupied by a particular person over its lifetime in the organization is what we call it as a career. But the subjective view of career says it consists of the sense of where one is moving from its existing time to the next time in its work life, the movement of the employee in its work life itself. So that is why whenever we do talk of this or understand this career and we do talk of the entire process of the career development itself, we say it's a process which enables the employees of the organization to explore different career opportunities available in the organizational hierarchy, in its journey, in its entire work life in the organization. But exploring that will not be enough unless and until all those job opportunities that the individual employee would like to acquire or would like to occupy in the future days are not supported with the requisite skill, knowledge, and abilities. Therefore, we say it is a process which enables the employees to understand, to develop their own skills, interests related to a particular job position, and they use this in an effective way. All these skill, knowledge, abilities, whatever they gather, they use this in an effective way so that they move up in the organizational hierarchy and occupy the desired positions. Sometimes this happens within the organization, but at times also employees to plan for that beyond the organization. So whenever they do leave the organization, they need to think of making that particular career itself. So career is a comprehensive view which accumulates the requirements of the organization at one hand and the fulfillment of the needs and desires of the people or the human resources on the other hand. So this is a complementary process. That is what we need to understand. So the basic objectives of this career development process is to improve each employee's present job performances so that they do get the opportunity to occupy more responsible positions in the organizational hierarchy. Not only that, the objective is the potential or exploration of the potential of the individual employee. So preparing the individual employees through common mentorship programs, coaching programs for the future jobs of the organization, so that the objective is to prepare a second line of managerial people who are ready to take up more responsible positions in the organizational hierarchy at the time of requirement. Organizational objectives to be made with a dynamic and effective staffs. So preparing the human resources who can really contribute for the growth and development of the organization. So with these sort of objectives of the career development, let's understand the basic process of career planning. What it says, that it's a deliberate process through which one becomes aware of his personal skills, interest, knowledge, motivations, other characteristics, and then they tend to establish those action plans to the specific goals itself. So if I do have a desire to move up in the organizational hierarchy, I need to develop myself on a continuous basis. It's all about improving my skills, knowledge, and abilities for a future job perspective. That is what. If I don't develop, then maybe the skill, knowledge, and abilities become obsolete. And nowadays, with the growth and development of science and technology, newer concepts do come out with. So if I don't upgrade myself, then I'll not be fit for the future job requirements of the organization. That is. So career planning is something which is initiated by both the employees and the organization. So from the employee's perspective, where the employee need to explore his own skill, knowledge, and abilities, here we need to understand the organizational perspective. What it says, that organizations need to facilitate these employees in terms of understanding their requirement or understanding their capabilities as a requirement of the organizational need. So what could be the future jobs that the employees can occupy should be made aware to the employees itself. Employees, like it's a roles and responsibilities of the organization or the senior managers, like the higher authorities, to make the employee to understand their journey in the career path of the organization, so that understanding the different job requirements of the future days, these employees can equip themselves. We need to understand one thing, that this career or advancement in career doesn't only confine itself to the skill, knowledge, or technical capabilities of the people only, but at the same time, these advancements in the career also requires the particular sort of involvement of the employee in the process. So the attitude and behavior of the employee towards this work related aspects, job related aspects in the entire person's work life in the organization is what that need to be focused. People should have a positive association with the organization's plans for the career advancement. And the role of the organization is to provide this succession of related jobs in this hierarchical order, right? What a person can occupy. So it's all about the movement of the employee in the organizational hierarchy, which will provide the employee a sense of fulfillment itself. That we can understand it in two ways. We can think of this from an internal focus, where the thrust is given on the career of the individual employee, and the individual employee is responsible for the said purpose. Okay? And the other aspect is we need to think of the external focus. External focus is what actually your job is at the present time, and what sort of positions you'd like to fill in future time. What is a competency gap, and how do you bridge that particular competency gap so that those aspects are taken care of in future days. So the internal focus allows the employees to rethink, reinvent themselves for a future job requirement of the organization, so that they can occupy the desired level of positions in the organizational hierarchy. But at the same time, external focus allows these organizations to make the employee aware of his present job conditions, his existing job, his existing position, and the kind of skill, knowledge, ability, or you can say the kind of potential, kind of competencies required by the individual employee to occupy those future jobs. This is how we come out with an approach that makes these individual employees and the organizations to work together for the better benefit of the organization at large. Right? So, talking of this in two different perspectives, right? We're going to talk of this career in terms of career planning and the career management itself. Planning is the attempt that you are making to understand your own skill, values, opportunities, constraints, right? And planning is a process whereby I'm continuously upgrading myself, updating my goals, career goals. Right? And planning is a process of like strategizing or formulating some sort of tactics to accomplish that particular goal. But when I to talk of this career management, it's all about preparing or implementing and monitoring those career plans itself. So bridging the gap of the individuals in terms of their existing abilities, capabilities, and the capabilities of the people in the future days, so that this organization's requirements for future days Jobs are more or less linked with the personal attributes of the individuals, the individual characteristics, personalities, perceptions, learning, all of those things. That's what we need to understand. Not that all the people are meant to have a good public relation skill. Not that all the people meant to have a good leadership ability. What is required is to understand the skill, knowledge, and abilities that the people who have, and perhaps after understanding that, I need to think of the gaps. Now, all those people who are not completely meant for a particular job should not be taken into consideration. Right? So, after having a counseling session, after having this assessment of individual characteristics, individual attributes, the next step is to develop the individual efforts that are to be made by the individuals. This development is what that takes, breezing the requirement of the individual in terms of its skill in some future jobs to the present job. That is what is required. Right. Similarly, if we to talk of this organizational perspectives itself, organizational perspective says your organization needs and opportunities in the next day should be facilitated by this personal planning and career information. Right? Personal planning and career information says the sequence of hierarchical positions that one employee need to occupy in his course of time, lifetime, you can say. Right? So this counseling process of individual employee and this personal planning and career information, this should match. Then only you can move to the next step. Similarly, in the next step, when we do talk of this individual development efforts, we are talking of organization support in terms of providing this training and development opportunities to the employees. It's one of the roles and responsibility of the organization itself to provide that training and developmental opportunity to the employees. And at last, we do, when there is a match, like everything, like the individual requirements, individual assessments, individual developmental opportunities do match with the organizational objectives, right? With the personal planning, career information system, and with the formal training and development requirement of the organization. Then only we can think of placing that particular employee on the career path. So, career path is not considered as something related to the work experiences of the individual employee. Career path is something which takes the different sort of roles and responsibilities that the individual employee has played in the past, and thereby we can think of planning for the additional responsibilities, status, power, rewards in the organization. Okay? So that is how we do understand this career management process in an organization. The question is, why do we need a career planning? What will happen if we don't have this career planning? As I said, that nowadays, because of this uncertainties, because of the challenges, because of changing environment, there's a requirement of a continuous state of development, a constant state of development to survive and prosper. There has to be a continuous sense of development, right? But uh, everyone who is there as a part of the career planning process itself, all of them, they need to contribute in terms of advancement in the career perspective. That is why we've identified few such important factors which leads to the career opportunities of the individual employee in the organization. Okay? As if we can say in this increasing utilization of managerial resource within the organization itself, right? Most of the time, people in the organization are underutilized, disguisedly utilized. Right? So, helping the individual managers, helping the individual employees to overcome the kind of challenges that the organization does have, right? Or making the best possible utilization of all those kind of managerial resources available with me for the international assignment, right? Or we can think of making the best possible contribution of these managers for the growth and development of the organization. That is why we need to have proper career planning. Without that, organizations may not be able to come out with the basic aspects of their survival. Second point is ensuring these performances of the employees at a satisfactory level, right? Meeting their needs and aspirations and the growth. Every time employees of the organization do ask a question to themselves related to this, what positions I'm going to occupy in our future days? What are the things that makes these employees to occupy more responsible positions, or in terms of their growth, as if we have understood, career can be interpreted as in terms of monetary growth or in terms of positional growth, all of those things, right? So what performance of the employee should be there to occupy those kind of needs and growths are judged, right? That further being facilitated by training and development. Similarly, third point is reducing this employee turnover, right? Because this promotional avenues will be less, right? So I need to work on that so that people in the organization can have their own career growth. Turnover should be minimized. Maintaining and improving motivation and morale of the employee itself. So altogether, what we need to understand is that each and every employee of the organization must contribute. And to make the efforts of the employees aligned together, we need to have a proper career planning process. So the objective of this career planning is to ensure that we do have all the verticals of the HR satisfies through this, right? So whenever we do talk of the basic objectives of this career planning process, attraction and retention of the right type of person is the first such objective. Right? So it's not only to acquire human resources, but also we need to focus on the retention part of the human resources. We are talking of mapping the career of the employees itself in terms of their skill, knowledge, abilities, willingness to perform a particular task, right? So unless and until there is a requirement of a higher position, people would like to develop themselves. But I'm talking of this has to be there in a continuous basis to to help each and every individual employee to develop themselves for higher positions. That is what we need to understand. Better use of human resources, more satisfied and productive employees itself. Now, if like we say, people do make best possible contribution if they are happy, and to be happy or to fulfill the requirements, then it to move up in the organizational hierarchy, and that is what that makes the best possible utilization of them. Reducing employee turnover and absenteeism. Okay, we understand that. Increasing the utilization of managerial resources or reserves available at all the level. Improvement of moral and motivation of the employees. Overall achievement of organizational development and individuals with guidance and encouragement is what that is given by each and every career planning process, purpose and planning process itself, right? And now let's talk of this career development as a part of the entire career management process. It says a process by which employees' potentials can be enhanced, right, for the advancement in their career or whenever they are going for a career change itself. Right? And this systematic process of guiding the movement of the individual employees of the enterprise through different hierarchical position is what we call it as career development. Okay. Guiding the movement of the human resources of the enterprise. Okay. But how do we do that? That is what we need to understand. So in the process of the career development itself, we need to understand that there are 4 such important phases through which the individual employee passes through the organizational requirement. One is a exploratory stage, establishment stage, maintenance stage, and the stage of decline. Let's talk of that. Whenever we do talk of this exploratory stage, like as if we have understood that there has to be a proper match between the organizational requirement to the individual level of requirement, we must say that all individuals before entering into the organization should acquire particular information about the organization itself. But it is also a responsibility of the organization to provide the basic information related to the various occupations, jobs, career aspects, hierarchies of the organization to the new employees. So a detailed process has to be circulated among the members of the organization, and particularly whenever we do come out with this new employees itself. We are talking of opportunities to be acquainted with this organizational career path. Nowadays, we do talk of generalists. So generalists don't work in a particular vertical. Generalists have the entire responsibility, right? But I want the employees to take up different sort of skills, knowledge, abilities. So different tools that these organizations can use are like job rotations, internships, and maybe at times they need to visit to different units or attending different sort of seminars will enable them to explore the possibilities. Okay? We are talking of educational and training programs can also help the supply of this potential employees for the future. So exploration stage is a stage where employees try to understand the requirements of the organization on a long run. Second phase, we're talking of establishment phase. Establishment phase is where there has to be the best possible talent for the organization. So identifying the best possible talent for the organization is the next step. We are talking of a proper way by which organization can actually reach to those people. I understand there are potentials of the people, but at the same time, these potentials of the people can be tracked by the organization. Okay. So what are the ways by which I can reach to those particular people? What I need to focus on the communication skills, or the communication that has to be there, which will create a positive mindset of the people towards the organization itself. Right? People need to focus on learning and developmental measures, right? Training and other aspects of the development. But beyond that, as if we have understood that this behavior and attitude of the people are other factors that we need to consider. So here also, right, we need to understand that a challenging job that makes these employees of the organization to come with their best efforts. So employees to contribute their best if they are exposed to a challenging job itself. We talk of providing adequate information related to the job itself, right? And developmental plans like identification or any such kind of developmental needs, deciding the career stage, deciding the movement of the employee within that organization are a part of the establishment stage. Some or other we call it as the start step is called it as a plateau stage, the maintenance stage, right? This is a stage which ensures that there is a continuous performance appraisal, feedback. We talk of counseling itself, right? And there has to be long range planning. This maintenance stage is a stage which actually reveals the plateau stage. No ups and downs, like it goes on like that. But there also, the thrust is on the quality, right? So all of those things, you need to come out with all those kind of strategies and motivations for the employees at the plateau stage itself. We are talking of transmission of this specific or specialist cadre people to more generic cadre people, right? We are talking of accommodation of the family requirement, right? We are talking of helping these individual employees to look forward for their separation, may it be the resignations or the retirements, or maybe any kind of dismissals or discharge from duty. That is what that need to be taken into consideration. And we need to think of the fourth phase, stage of decline. One thing we must take into consideration is that this stage of retirement should be planned without, right, destroying the employee's sense of self-worth, self-respect. Let the individual employee get separated from the organization with all desired self-respect. Okay? So sometimes we are talking of creating certain part-time jobs for those kind of employees who do get retired. Right? And like that only, we need to take into consideration the different aspects, starting from exploratory stage to the stage of decline itself. Here, we do come out with the basic aspects of the career development process. As if we have understood that this career development phase passes through these four different sub phases. One is the phase of exploration, second one is establishment, third one is maintenance, fourth one is decline. Based on that, different employees do come out with different set of requirements. As if here in this particular diagram, you can see that we compare these career stages in four different aspects. One is apprenticeship. Second one is apprenticeships can be compared with this first phase of career management process, that is to explore the possible options of career advancement. Advancement is the establishment phase. Maintenance, as usual, we do have strategic thinking is declining phase. What we need to understand is that all these different phases of career development process focuses on different requirements of the people itself. Whereas in the exploratory phase, where the safety, security, and psychological needs of the people are considered. Right? So that is what that Maslow says is the bottom line. And when they move up in the hierarchy in the second phase, establishment stage itself, their requirement is achievement of this self-esteem and the autonomy that should be given to the workers on the long run. Maintenance phase focuses on self-actualization and esteem, whereas strategic thinking, the last phase, right, that focuses on the self. Adapting to different set of cultural predispositions and to reinvent yourself. If we're talking of this fourth phase, strategic thinking, this declining phase, that is the phase where we need to reinvent ourselves, complete revamp. That is what we need to understand, right? Let us move further to understand different sort of activities under this career planning and career development. Or you can say career development programs do focus on making the individual employee to understand, to take a decision related to their own career needs. They need to take a call of their own. However, if the management of the organization feels so, management can help these individual employees to take a call on their own. And we do have assessment centers, workshops, we do have psychological testing, simulation exercises, all of those things can be taken into consideration, which helps the individual employee to take a decision of its own. We're talking of developing and publishing the available career opportunities in the organization. Each and every employee must be aware of that. Right? So charting the career paths which the employee can move is what is required. Aligning employees' needs and abilities with the career opportunity, of course. If not properly aligned, then the organization will not be able to accomplish its objectives, right? And that is why here it is assumed that we need to align the needs and abilities with the career opportunities, right? But is there a specific assignment that is going to be given to the individual employee? Is there a requirement of specific training and developmental measures for that? What would be the role of the supervisor, higher authority? All of those things needed to be taken into consideration, right? Moving to the career planning process, career planning process, planning activities. Here, we need to prepare a personal inventory of human resources in the organization. What is required is to have that inventory. Say, what is the existing number of employees in the organization and what sort of what would be the requirement of people in future organization? What type of employees I do have right now with me? What is their status? What is the skill level? What is their educational level? What is their involvement in technological adaptation? I need to talk of that. Beyond that, do I have a surplus of manpower or a shortage of manpower? Do I really require the person in a very short span of time, or I need to talk of the requirement in a long term? All of these things are required to be addressed, right? To prepare that HR inventory. Second step, career path and ladders for various category of employees itself. So that is what I need to make I need to talk of. Like whenever a particular assignment, international assignment is assigned to a particular person, like as if we have understood, it may be a parent country national or a host country national or a third country national, right? So what sort of opportunities are available for those PCNs, TCNs or HCNs? That has to be defined properly. That has to be communicated to the employees properly. Then they can think of their own development. Locating and identifying the employees with necessary potentials for career planning itself. Here, we are not talking of the appraisals, we are talking of potential appraisal. Let us understand. Potential appraisal. Whether I'm in need of that or like everything is based on the kind of skill, knowledge and ability that the employee is going to exhibit in its future international assignment. So why not to assess that beforehand? So there has to be proper mapping between the employee's existing potentials or competencies with the future potential and requirement of competencies. We are talking of suitable plans of training and development for all those people in different steps of their career ladder. And if we have understood that there are 4 different roles to be played by each and every individual employee. The individual employees may be taking the role of a CEO or a structure reproducer or a negotiator, right? Disturbance handler or an operational person. Now, based on the job requirements of these 4 different category of involvement, we cannot have similar sort of training programs. What is required is that if I'd like to move in the organizational hierarchy from operational to the structure reproducers or to the disturbance handler, so I need to acquire different skills. That is what we need to understand, right? And maintaining the age balance itself. Look, This is a very important aspect that we need to understand, that whenever we do talk of this international assignment, there may be a generation gap. Say, for example, for a particular position in the organizational hierarchy, I may have a direct recruitee, or I can think of certain other people working in the same hierarchical level who are promoters. Right? So whenever I'm talking of this direct recruitees and promotees, I can bring a difference in terms of their education, or you can think of their professionalism and the kind of professionalism that they exhibit because of their professional qualification or professional experiences. Those things have to be taken into consideration. You cannot like bring a distinction, because common pattern is that people who do have higher version of education, who do lack in terms of education itself, professional qualification itself, they don't get promoted easily. We need to talk of that. And career development action plans. We do have certain questions to ask ourselves, whether the existing career development opportunities, existing classification of the employees are correct. There may be 1,000 ways in which I can classify all those employees, right? But for international assignments, I can take up these 4 different job roles: CEOs, structure reproducers, disturbance handlers, and operational people itself. And based on that only, I can classify the employees. Classification of these employees can be in terms of the skill category also. So whatever is required, I need to make a classification of that. Do I have a proper JD, job description, for each and every position that the individual employee is going to occupy in their future day? If not, I should focus on that. Right? We're thinking of making an assessment whether the particular person is actually eligible or not for this particular kind of job. We need to make an assessment of the future manpower requirement in an organization. We need to think of pulling it individually or as a team. All of those things are to be taken into consideration whenever we do talk of this career planning process in detail. Certain other concepts that we need to discuss is this career counseling itself, right? So career counseling is a process that enables the individual employees to have an insight into the personal or the job world wherever they live in, right? What it says, how do I take up those challenges, and how do I come out with all of those kind of things? That is what, right? So providing this normal mature person with these guidelines to the individual employees, right? Sometimes you need to make the individual employees to think beyond the box. There are many such career opportunities which are available, are not being made aware by these employees. Because they are not aware of that. At the same time, with the growth and development of science and technology, there are many such occupations which have extincted or at the age of, or at the verge of extinction. So I need to understand that. That is the reason why I need to continuously reinvent myself. And employees should not lose this opportunity of reinventing themselves. achieving and enjoying this professional satisfaction itself or personal satisfaction, the pleasure and happiness, that is what we need to talk of is some of the other goals of the career. Counseling process itself, understanding the forces and dynamics operating in this system. Okay. So all of those things can be supported by the different sort of roles and responsibilities played by the stakeholders in the process itself. What is expected from the individual is to stay motivated on the career track. What is expected from the individual employees to carry out this learning and development process in a continuous way, right? There has to be effective time and money management. We can think of self promotion. Individual employees can, you know, be a part of a larger network which can provide them enough opportunities of understanding different careers itself. Okay. Second, as a manager, the manager's role is to provide time to time feedback to the individual employee. So there could be, developmental assignments and support. Managers need to help the individual employee to participate in career development discussions. Right? Managers need to act as a coach or advisor, helping the individual employees to cope with all those kind of stress related to this challenges. Right? Employer need to provide enough training and development measures, provide career information and career programs, and offer a variety of career options available in the organizational hierarchy. That is what we need to understand. But the basic advantages we need to understand. So a person can understand the different labels of the organizational hierarchy, and the person can make an assessment of his journey from one particular position to the other particular position in the organizational hierarchy. Thereby, the person can explore the requirement of the skill, knowledge, and abilities in due course of time, and the way the person can really enhance his skill, knowledge, and abilities are what is required. Career planning should be participative, right? So these international job assignments are not assigned by luck. So unless and until you do participate, you cannot think of that, right? So future requirements should be based on a systematic approach, right? The new entrants, they need to explore the possibilities by understanding the job requirements and understanding the career ladder in the organization itself, right? That will lead to more stable workforce, a homogeneous work group, a cohort can be developed out of that. Turnover ratios can be minimized to a large extent, and we can think of the employer branding or the branding of the organization. Organizational branding can be there if we do provide a better career opportunity. So let's end up with that. Still, even if we do talk of all of those things, but there are certain limitations. It is not applicable for smaller organizations. It is not applicable for the jobs which actually involve physical efforts, right? We're talking of that, who the employees who like work on the shop floors. It's not a technique for them. Growth expectations of the members, the family can be very high. So managing that is really high. It may not be effective for a longer period of time, because it can be there affected by this political interventions, favoritism, nepotism, promotions, reservations, all of those things, right? So with these limitations, if we really want to manage the career of the international employees, so let us understand the long-term projections, requirements in terms of technical, managerial, personal abilities of the people itself, right? Periodic analysis should be there. focusing on the future challenges and changes, right? And proper like allocation of right job to right individuals is all of those things needed to be taken into consideration. So these are the things with a proper policy we can manage the career of individuals. So let's end up over here, and thank you very much for your kind patience. We'll once again join.